Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating strategy straight from our source material. We're going to look at how to build what's called a digital passport for your brand. Basically, we're figuring out exactly how to secure trust in the age of artificial intelligence. I am so excited to dive into this with you because, honestly, understanding how AI views your brand, that's literally the difference between being visible and being completely invisible.
So let's kick things off with a critical question, and it's one that's frustrating marketers and founders everywhere right now. Why doesn't AI trust your brand, even if your content is absolutely top tier? Well, here's the reality of the AI search ecosystem today. Self-published content simply isn't enough anymore. You can have the most beautiful website, the absolute smartest blog post, but if you're the only one saying it, AI is going to remain deeply skeptical. AI needs proof. It needs validation.
Okay, let's dive into this. On our agenda today, we've got 1. The underlying logic of AI trust. 2. Winning high-quality mentions. 3. Building entity consistency. 4. The timeline for execution. 5. Avoiding pitfalls. And finally, 6. The ultimate trust mode.
Section 1. The underlying logic of AI trust.
So before we talk tactics, we kind of have to understand how the machine actually thinks. AI doesn't just read your website in a vacuum, right? It relies heavily on cross-referencing information across the entire web to figure out if you actually are who you say you are. There are 2 main forces at play here: self-promotion versus third-party mentions. Think of your self-promotion, what you say about yourself on your own site, as your passport photo. It's necessary, for sure. But third-party mentions? What the rest of the web says about you? Those are the visa stamps on that digital passport. And AI systems are programmed to weigh those visa stamps far, far more heavily than anything you say about yourself. Authority isn't built by talking to yourself. It's formed after being repeatedly verified by the outside world.
And that brings us to a golden rule from our source material. 1 mention from authoritative media is far better than 10 from low-quality blogs. AI is remarkably good at discerning the quality of a source. A casual shout-out on some obscure, spammy forum, that means absolutely nothing. And honestly, it might even hurt you. But 1 solid mention in a major industry publication or a high-trust database, boom, that is a massive signal to an AI that you're a legitimate authoritative entity. Quality over quantity is absolutely the law in this new era.
Moving on to Section 2, winning high-quality third-party mentions.
Okay, so now that we know we need these high-quality external validations, how do we actually go out and get them? First up, we've got high-value directories and platforms. These are your low-hanging fruit. They yield relatively fast results. We're talking industry directories like G2 or Product Hunt, company info platforms like Crunchbase, review platforms like Trustpilot, and knowledge graphs like Wikipedia or industry wikis. But here is the key. The data you input here must be incredibly accurate, completely full, and perfectly match the official information on your website. Seriously, if your Crunchbase profile says one thing and your website says another, you're just confusing the AI. Keep it updated and definitely encourage genuine user reviews.
Next, let's look at earned media and content collaborations. This is your core mid to long-term strategy. This means proactively offering expert contributions, putting out press releases when you actually have substantial news to share, and getting on industry podcasts and panels. So the crucial point is this: when you do a podcast or a panel, you absolutely must push for written summaries or transcripts to be published right alongside the audio. Remember, AI search engines index text. If your brilliant hour-long interview isn't transcribed anywhere in text, well, to the AI, it practically never happened.
Then we have natural acquisition. This happens organically when you publish things with real informational value, like original data or unique methodologies, making it so good that people simply have to cite you. You should also be monitoring your brand mentions using tools like Google Alerts to engage with people who are already talking about you. But a quick warning from the source here. Strictly pursue contextual editorial links. Completely 100% avoid low-quality directory stuffing or paid link farms. AI will catch those, and the penalty to your trust score is going to be severe. Which brings us to Section 3, building whole web entity consistency. Now, all those fantastic mentions we just talked about, they are completely useless if the AI can't figure out exactly who you are. Let's look at this definition. Entity consistency is the strict uniformity of a brand or person's name, descriptions, and associations across all platforms to prevent AI trust signals from being diluted or contradicted. Think of it as the ultimate amplifier for your PR and marketing efforts. If you're out there doing great things, but your identity is scattered all over the place, the AI can't tie those great things back to you. The signals just get totally diluted. So, how do we actually unify an author or an expert entity? It's a pretty precise three-step sequence. First, unify the name spelling everywhere. Second, unify titles and bios. So if your lead researcher is Dr. Jane Smith, lead scientist on your site, she shouldn't be just J. Smith, writer on LinkedIn or on a guest author page. And third, add person schema markup to your website's code to really clearly associate this person with your organization. Every single public-facing profile must align perfectly.
To keep all of this in check, you need a brand consistency audit. Our source material recommends a really fascinating strategy here: standardizing a 50-word and a 150-word description of your brand, and then using them relentlessly, everywhere. Make sure your logos and URLs are perfectly uniform, have the correct organization schema on your site, and most importantly, conduct a quarterly entity audit. Just search your brand name and key figures on Google, look at the top 20 or 30 results, and aggressively fix any incorrect descriptions. Maintaining this digital passport, it's an ongoing job for sure.
All right, Section 4, the timeline for execution.
And this brilliantly illustrates that this isn't just theory. The source material gives us a highly practical roadmap, so you know exactly when to take action. In Phase 1, Week 1, it's pure foundation. You're updating directories, standardizing bios, and setting up mention monitoring. In Phase 2, which is Weeks 2 through 4, you go on the offensive, pitching media, publishing news. Phase 3 becomes your monthly rhythm, aiming for 1 to 2 high-quality mentions and auditing your consistency. And finally, Phase 4 is a quarterly review of your authority signals. The big takeaway here is that the first 30 days are purely about laying the groundwork before you even try to scale.
Section 5. Avoiding authority gilding pitfalls.
You know, it's crucial to know what works, but it's arguably even more important to know what mistakes can instantly flag your digital passport as fraudulent to an AI. Honestly, you might want to screen grab this rapid self-checklist so you can audit your own brand today. Just ask yourself, do your core directories match your website? Are your authors and brand names completely uniform across the web? Have you actually gotten a new, quality mention in the last 90 days? If you're answering no to these, well, you've got some leaks in your trust moat.
And here are the fatal traps you literally must avoid at all costs. Buying links or fake reviews? Yeah, that might have worked a decade ago, but today it will severely and permanently damage your long-term authority signals in the AI era. Don't ignore outdated information on wikis either. Actively manage it. Avoid the trap of doing but not telling. Like if you have a big win, share it so you actually get the authority credit. Beware of entity fragmentation, where you're using different titles across different platforms. And finally, never focus purely on the volume of mentions over contextual quality. Just don't do it.
And our final section, Section 6, the ultimate moat, the trust loop.
Let's tie everything back together into the overarching strategy of AI optimization. Building AI trust is essentially a three-step loop. Step 1 is content extractability, meaning your site is structured well so AI can easily read your content. Step 2 is source credibility, proving your authors are real experts with the data to back them up. And Step 3, the one we've really deep dived into today, completes the loop: third-party mentions and entity consistency. Extractability lets AI read it, credibility makes it fundamentally trustworthy, and consistent mentions validate it to the entire web. When all three are firing together, you form this incredible closed loop of trust signals.
But I want to be completely straightforward with you here, just as our source material is. Building this authority, it's the slowest part of the entire process. Actually, scratch that. It's also the hardest thing for your competitors to copy. You really must persist with this strategy, aiming for just 1 to 2 high-quality mentions a month for 6 to 12 months. That is the timeline required for a visible, undeniable boost in AI trust. It definitely requires patience, but it builds an absolutely unassailable moat around your brand.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on today. Will your brand's digital passport pass the AI border check, or will inconsistent signals and a total lack of third-party validation get you flagged as a fake? The blueprint is right here in our hands. It's time to start auditing our web presence today, unify our entities, and start building a trust moat that no competitor can easily cross. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.